Good day, everyone. It's nice to see you today. I'm Aliyeva Navruza. I'm the senior teacher of the Department of English Philology at Fergana State University. And today we shall talk about the role of guide and interpreter at formal meetings. So let's start. Formal and informal meetings. What is the difference between formal and informal meetings? The first thing we must pay attention to is agenda. Agenda is the kind of a plan, the rule for the whole process of the meeting. And here in formal meetings, we must know that formal meetings tend to be more structured and organized than their informal counterparts. When we say it is structured and organized, we mean that there is a set agenda with items for discussion and a specific time and place reserved for those discussions. One person specifically leads the discussion, and there might be rules on who can speak, for how much time, and for when. For example, for one speaker, there might be allotted 30 minutes. And there are breakout sessions with everyone reconvening to discuss their results. Informal meetings are often more free from it's important to remain respectful, not stray from the meeting's purpose. So this is the main difference between formal and informal meetings. Next. So as we're talking about formal meetings, we must know the examples for the formal meetings. These are the board meetings, team or departmental meetings, quarterly reviews, committee meetings, or governmental debates. When we say about formal meetings, we can mean it can be ranging from the company or organization meetings to the governmental and larger scale international meetings. So next thing we must know is who is the translator and who is the interpreter. I think you all know that the translator is the one who always tries to work on the written version, written translation, and the interpreter is the one who possesses the skills of oral translation. So here you can see translators have unlimited opportunities to make alterations before final version because this is written translation, and the interpreter has to work in a real-time situation, and this is the most stressful thing for the interpreter. Next, interpreters must ensure that any background knowledge which they are likely to need has been acquired in advance. Here we can give an example of a conference interpreting where the interpreter has to get all the documents and terminology, the topic of the conference in advance, and he must prepare for this topic. Next, interpreters constantly take communicative risks. They experience higher stress levels while on job than most translators. Next, what are the types of interpreting? The types are by the context and by the way it is carried out, by the methods. So by the context, when we say about the context, these are three types: the community interpreting, conference interpreting, and here court interpreting. By the method, these are the types: that consecutive interpreting, liaison, then simultaneous interpretation, whispered interpreting, and signed language interpreting. Next, for conference interpreting, the role of the interpreter is a mediation. He is the mediator between the speakers, between speaker and the speaker, between the speaker and the audience. So this is the role, the main role of the interpreter. And his mission and the problem is that interpreters cannot always share the knowledge background which a speaker's audience possess. The thing that we must consider as well is the background knowledge of the audience that the speaker tries to impress, or he is trying to get the knowledge. Next, the role of conference interpreter. We are talking about formal meetings, so what is the role of the conference interpreter? The role of the interpreter is to facilitate conversation in a meeting between multinational parties. So here in conferences, in a larger scale meetings, the interpreter has to be a mediator. He has to facilitate conversation between different nations, between different languages, and between different states. So what are the qualities of the interpreter, of the conference interpreter, for example? Here you can see the ability to communicate, cultural respect. These are the two specific modes that the interpreter must consider. This is the culture and the communication between the nations and between the states. Next is extensive knowledge, discretion, discipline. The interpreter should be disciplined and should be concentrated, so he should always be focused on the topic. Next, what are the tips that we can give to the interpreter? This is that he should possess the language even better than a native speaker, then the knowledge of specific sector. Next, certificates, documentation that gives the information that the interpreter has a special skill. Next, he should be objective and the stance of neutrality. We said that the interpreter is a mediator. This means that he should be neutral. He should have no emotions or feelings to the parts. Next, having a strong grip on cultural norms and must pick up on every word but also every meaning and intent. Next, what is the preparation time? What are the sources that the interpreter can use for the preparation? The three main sources of information for the interpreter, first of all, is the conference documents, the World Wide Web, this is the internet, and the pre-conference briefing. What do we mean when we say the conference documents? These are the program or agenda, background papers, documents that are to be discussed, then multilingual glossaries of the relevant terminology. We know that the interpreter must prepare his glossary, specific glossary for the topic of the conference. Next, the list of speakers and delegates, speakers, bias, for example. Next, glossary preparation. This is important learning process, the main point of which is to help the interpreter to understand and memorize the terminology. We said before, just before the conference, interpreter must prepare his special glossary. Next, organizers. The interpreter must coordinate, must cooperate closely with the organizers, and this is very helpful for the conference interpreter because this ensures that technical and other arrangements are in place. Next thing, pre-conference briefing. This is a short one immediately before a session, and it's valuable addition to the interpreter's preparation, where he can get the answers for the questions and understand the topic of the conference. Next, getting to the conference and setting up. The person who should be on time or just before the conference who should come earlier to the conference is the interpreter. For example, 30 minutes earlier, he should come and check the technical equipment, the documents, and he should be ready to go. Next, on the conference day, the task of the interpreter is to prepare the preparation. He should, first of all, dress appropriately to fit at the meeting, use perfume or aftershave sparingly, and avoid bangles. Introduce yourself to any colleagues and also to the technicians, so he should familiarize with the people and with technical equipment. So what is quality in interpreting? Quality is a function of communication accurately, faithfully, and completely as possible. So when you're not interpreting, you must pay attention to your partner and assist your partner and follow the meeting and prepare for your next turn. So the very last thing is the professional ethics. This is integrity and professionalism and confidentiality of the interpreter. And we must also consider that interpreting is a high-stress profession, and we should try to cope with this specialty and with these problems. And the last thing we must mention is the interpreter should work on himself. So this is the end of our lecture for today. See you next time. Thank you.